Edition of the Tuesday Penn State Presser. I'm Neil Rudell, joined today by an old friend, Mike Poorman with StateCollege.com. Corey is still recovering from the baseball series, so we gave him a week off. And Mike, I found Bill O'Brien to be real businesslike, a little blunt today. Clearly would rather be other places than the press conference.
Yeah, he took control. He took control of the message. He took control of the direction. I took control of the focus. I think he did that with the team and with the media, but I think he enjoyed doing that. He slipped in a lot of humor there. Right? He likes having the upper hand.
Yeah, it's interesting. With the NFL and his background, the NFL, you're probably not going to go undefeated. You still have, you're going to take a lump or two, and you still could get home field advantage the whole way through the playoffs. Here, I think we've all kind of gotten accustomed to, particularly as far back as we go, you lose one game and the sky is falling, and you don't necessarily get a chance to play for the Holy Grail. Now I think and I think the NFL allows you to maybe move on a little more quickly than maybe we were able to in the past after a loss to Indiana.
I think it's especially so, and you asked a good question about the focus of the game being bigger because there is not a bowl game, because there is not a potential Big Ten championship or playoff game, so it does take even on greater import. And I think for the team, I think he's learned that, but he knows that. But that is the Penn State expectation, and that certainly hasn't changed. I mean, the message boards were brutal, and there was a big email chain I'm part of. And the guy called the loss a fiasco, and I'm not sure if fiasco is the right word.
Yeah, I think it was clearly the worst performance that we've seen in a year and a half, the most unexpected, and there's a lot of things, and clearly he wants to start talking about Michigan. He really only entertained talk about Michigan, even though there's a lot of rehash. That's what football is for a whole week. It's a lot of rehash of what went on both sides of the ball, how much changed. One thing we used to see, and I think, once you've taken at least one loss, the second loss has now come. A lot of times positions are kind of up in the air, and he sort of gave a hint that you're going to see more people today, and he's challenged people in practice.
I thought that was it, and I think that was your question. Again, I thought that was one of the biggest pieces of news, and it kind of slipped out there. And I don't think he really wanted to say it, but if you read into it, yeah, he's saying, some things are open that if you do well. And I know after the Central Florida loss, he has said the guys didn't like me very much. I was a tough coach. So he has that mentality, and I think they're back at that point again.
Well, yeah, because you're starting to see, you now have a body of work of 5 games, and you're starting to see where the deficiencies are. And I know there's scholarship limitations, but they clearly had a better team than they showed they showed the other day.
Yeah, especially the collapse. It was 21-17 after 3 quarters, and almost all the wheels fell off in the 4th quarter. I think overall what he's at the point now where he's circling the wagons. Practice isn't open. He's not open. It's us against the world in a very different way, and I think he's all business football-wise.
Yeah, on the field, it looked like to a lot of us that they really got away from the run. I tried to revisit that with him on that a little bit, just because to me, when you throw 50 times, you usually lose, and they have a horse in Swinnec that they kind of got away from. And I just think, and Bill was very critical of himself after the game, and I think that was a lot of part of it. I think you'll see a more physical game this week against the Michigan team that really hasn't been great defensively these last few years.
No, and I think it's interesting to have the players after O'Brien, because we hear it's a classic Big Ten game. It's a hard-nosed matchup. Those are not their words. That's coming from Bill, and I think that's where you hear what the internal message is when you read between the lines. A smash-mouth game.
Just a couple of the news. He did say that Allen Robinson, he expected him to play. Felder, he expected to be back. Kaiser, he called him doubtful or out?
Possible.
Yeah. So he did impart an injury report right away. Mike, would you like to offer up a score?
Boy, I think, yeah, I would. I'll make it 24-21.
Who are you going to pick?
You just wanted the score.
Yeah, that's what I want. And in a partial score, Michigan 20.
I think overall Michigan. There's 2 numbers that are really, for me, Michigan averages 38.8 points a game. That's a big number. So even if Penn State does a better job against them, but they're ranked 9th in the country, I believe, against the run.
Yeah.
And so if you see
Indiana was even worse.
Well, yeah, they were even worse. But no, but they're ranked 9th as far as against the run.
Right.
So they're giving up less than 100 yards a game. So that's right in their wheelhouse. Those two offense defense. They point the way to me.
Okay, so you're picking Michigan.
Michigan 24-21.
I did pick Penn State 27-24. I think this is really you talked about circling the wagons. This is really their opportunity game. They're going to fill the place. You look back last year, they were able to have a great atmosphere against Wisconsin, and this is a game they really need to have to prevent, I think, some of the wheels from falling off.
They don't have, I think you're right. I just don't see them having a couple guys to grab the team by their neck and say this is a big deal. Other than O'Brien, he can't do it alone.
Yeah. Okay. Mike, appreciate the visit.
Thanks for having me.
Enjoy the game. And Lee Carey, our intern / videographer, we're trying to arrange. Lee's going to cover the Penn State hockey opener for the Mirror. You can look forward to that on Saturday. For Mike Poorman and Lee Carey and Corey Geiger, who's lurking out there somewhere, I'm Neil Riddell saying thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week.